What's up, guys? I'm back with another video. As I said in my last video, I have a new intro. I like it. It's awesome. And today we're going to be talking about the battle in Congress going on today. They're in negotiations today for voting rights and changing the Senate's threshold, the rules of the threshold, the filibuster that they can do. They're in the process of changing it. I don't know if it's just for this, the voting rights, or the Build Back Better plan, or what's going on. It's all really confusing, but today we're going to be talking about the battle of Congress. And again, this is the fight against poverty. Stay tuned. This video is important. It's about how bills are passed in Congress, and that ultimately trickles down to the people, and what we want. And this is why we vote for these senators to represent us. And as of right now, from what I've been seeing, studying the Senate, the House, the House, uh, some people are just not representing the people. They're not for the people, and it's very divided in Congress. And yeah, something should be done about this. But I have 4 videos. Let's take a look at these videos.
The United States Senate was supposed to vote today on reforming filibuster obstruction of voting rights. But there is no vote today. About 2 weeks back, Democratic leader Schumer laid out the case to adapt to what he called historic challenges to secure free and fair elections, and vowed a high-stakes vote to change Senate rules on or before January 17th, Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
And this was yesterday, by the way. Martin Luther King Day was yesterday. It was the 17th. Today is the 18th. So let's listen to further to what he has to say.
Schumer and Biden have never made such a big push before, and it was greeted then as big news to pressure those last Democratic holdouts. Here we are on the cusp of recognizing the life and legacy of Martin Luther King Jr., and we're still grappling with the issues of nullification and voter suppression. I hope Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema understand the seriousness of this on or before MLK Day. That's within 2 weeks. And the connection is deliberate.
I think Chuck is going to put the bill on the floor, and he's going to put extreme pressure on Joe and Kirsten.
Schumer, by going public that way, was supposed to invoke today's holiday to put that, quote, extreme pressure on Manchin and Sinema. Either Democrats could win, rallying MLK Day and base pressure to get to 50, or in a loss, they could make those holdouts take this hard vote on the ultimate voting rights holiday, a day when more people and their own Democratic constituents might notice. That was the political threat.
So what he's saying is that was Chuck Schumer's way of trying to get the voting rights through by getting these 2 people. That way it doesn't need to go to the Senate. It can pass with the reconciliation process. And it's just two senators holding it up, Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. They're holding up the. They're not even voting for it. They don't want to vote for it. They don't believe in it. So let's continue to listen to what he has to say.
And yet here we are. There is no vote today, with Schumer backing off and signaling debate starting tomorrow on these voting rights bills, and arguing that a vote today turned out to be too difficult, with one Democrat out under COVID and also the bad weather. But here's the thing. Senator Sinema loudly reiterated she's against reforming the filibuster, so Schumer doesn't have 50 votes anyway. The whole issue for today was whether this was a real threat to do the vote today for real, or a kind of an empty threat with a moving deadline. So it's not just about Chuck Schumer. It's about something that anyone who follows Democratic politics is familiar with: the gap between top Democrats claiming filibuster reform is key to democracy itself and the future of the entire Biden presidency, and then not really acting like it. And not.
So yeah, he was saying that they don't have the 50 votes, so they can't do anything without these 2. And that's what I reiterated in one of my videos. Like, it's falling in the hands of two people, and they're holding it up. They're holding it up, and it's not. The process is not working to pass these laws. Voting rights, that's been here since MLK. That's why they try to do it on his day to make it a push to get it passed. And we got two senators holding it up. I just don't believe personally that it should be like that to where two people can hold it up. It has to be a change. And I did a video on reconstructing Congress. It should be definitely a change to how they operate, because it's too divided. It's way too divided, which is why they're trying to get these voters' rights passed so more people had an opportunity to vote for these people, and the Senate is holding it up and making more stricter laws to vote. So there has to be changes. This is why they're trying to pass the bill. Let's continue listening.
Executing on a fairly standard piece of political hardball, which they claimed they would deploy 2 weeks ago. Now, people can debate the efficacy of this Schumer MLK plan, but it was his plan, and he did back off. And for Democrats concerned that party leaders don't fight as hard as the other side time and time again, who feel like they've seen this movie before, well, another president did once talk about this kind of dynamic.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. Can't get fooled again.
Close, it's actually fool me twice, shame on me, and that's how some are feeling watching this routine. Now, proportion matters. It is still overwhelmingly Republicans, not Chuck Schumer, that are responsible for the actual filibustering of these civil rights bills, and it's Republicans who won't consider even treating the voting rights carve-out like they do nominations or spending policies, which are not magically subject to this filibuster obstruction. But when it comes to Democrats vowing more hardball than they are willing to actually enact, some activists may start to feel like J. Cole's famous call for retribution.
So, yeah, it's like you said, it's actually the Republicans, and it gets held up in the Senate by a process they can do, which is called the filibuster, and they're trying to change those rules. I don't know if it's just on the voting rights, but I can learn more about it, or are they trying to change it completely? But it should be changed because they've held up a lot. They've held up stimulus checks, a number of things that got filibuster, and it's just overwhelming how many times they've used this process to hold up packages that or bills that we need to be passed. I'm gonna watch later for a woman who talks about we need the support of the senator, and that she should vote on it at least to show support to the people, which is what they're supposed to be representing. So he just got a little bit more to say about J. Cole. Let's listen to it.
Fool me one time, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't put the blame on you. Fool me 3 times, forget the peace signs, let it rain on you. There may be no easy answers given how the Senate works, but many are demanding a level of change that goes beyond rescheduling the supposed tough vote.
So yeah, that was the video, and yeah, the votes are tough. They're tough. It seems like nothing can really pass. Like it's just completely divided. It's already the House and the Senate, which is divided. Now we have division within just the House with the 2 senators holding up the bill, saying that they don't support it. So it's like our democracy is at risk. It is. Let's watch the next video.
Continue to support these bills. I will not support separate actions that worsen the underlying disease of division infecting our country.
This is Kristen Sinema's kind of crying talking is what the lady's gonna call it, and she is like, why are you so upset like that this is happening? Like, it's clearly the people aren't being represented properly. They're not. Let's continue to listen.
The debate over the Senate 60-vote threshold shines a light on our broader challenges. There's no need for me to restate my long-standing support for the 60-vote threshold to pass legislation. That was the conservative freshman Democratic senator from Arizona talking an hour before the President of the United States came to rally Senate Democrats to pass voting rights legislation. They're basically telling him he's wasting his time. Senator Sinema paid lip service to 2 voting rights bills.
And it is disrespectful to just reject that before the president even comes, not even hear him out. And she's a Democrat. She's a Democrat, and she's not even trying to hear a president that represents her party. Like, what is the division about? Like, why is it so divided in our Congress? Why? And us citizens just have to sit back and watch this, and they expect us to act civil when they're not even acting civil, not even hearing each other out, being kind to each other. It was very disrespectful, and we're gonna hear more about it. It's just upsetting. It's upsetting to watch this, and this is supposed to be our country. We're supposed to be a democracy, and it's at risk. It's at risk. All the time they can't agree on something, and most of the time it's for the good of the people, and they slam it with the filibuster, or it doesn't even get the votes in the House for the reconciliation process. The 50 votes, and the vice president breaks the tie with 51.
The Freedom to Vote Act and the John R. Lewis Act. Just as she's paid lip service to the late civil rights leader on Twitter and bragged about co-sponsoring the bill named in his honor. But with her dead-set opposition to changing the filibuster, she's ensuring that the bills are going nowhere. Apparently, for Senator Sinema, protecting the rights of the minority party in the Senate is more important than protecting the rights of minority voters. Over the past 24 hours, the House and the Senate worked out a complex maneuver to pass the 2 bills in one package, the combined Freedom to Vote John R. Lewis Act. The House passed it in a party line vote with the goal of passing it in the Senate by Monday, MLK Day. So much for that. Despite being intentionally undercut by a senator from his own party, after meeting with Senate Democrats, President Biden acknowledged the challenges ahead, but said that he would continue to fight election subversion.
I hope he gets it. Honest to God answer, I don't know when he gets it. But I know one thing. As long as I have a breath in me.
And he doesn't even know. He said, I don't know if we can get this done. He's saying, I don't know. That's how divided it is. And it's very upsetting. It's very, very upsetting to see this. Very upsetting. After all the things we dealt with the last president, President Trump, it seems like it's only gotten worse. I know we're dealing with a pandemic, and it's stressful. Times are stressful. We need relief, and it's being held up. The child tax credit is in the Build Back Better bill, and it's being held up by 2 senators because they don't support it. Come on. That raised so many children out of poverty, and they're holding it up. Time is going for us citizens. I don't know about for them. Time is going. Time is going for us, and we need relief. Everybody needs relief. It's not rocket science. It's not. Do what needs to be done for the people. That's what the government is there for, to represent the people, to be there for the people, protect the people. Whether it's Medicaid, welfare, or whatever programs we need it. We need it now. We need it now. And I'm sorry, I get upset, but something has to be done. Something has to be done. And let's get back to the video.
As long as I'm in the White House, as long as I'm engaged at all, I'm going to be fighting to change the way these legislations have moved.
After President Biden spoke, not to be outdone by his colleague, West Virginia conservative Democratic Senator Joe Manchin said that he, too, would not vote to eliminate or weaken the filibuster. With me now, Maria Teresa Kumar, President and CEO of Voto Latino, and Ari Berman, senior reporter for Mother Jones and author of Give Us the Ballot, The Modern Struggle for Voting Rights in America. Ari, you've been on a tear about this all day. I note the disrespect of Senator Sinema standing there, like acting all emotional as she says, I'm killing this bill, before the president even got a chance to come down and talk to the caucus. The disrespect of that to the president, I marked that. But also, apparently, when the president did meet with the caucus, She didn't listen, as John Ossoff gave a standing ovation-inducing speech passionately defending voting rights. She looked at her phone, her NBC News reporting, looked at her phone the whole time, and didn't look up until her name was mentioned, like Donald Trump would. This seems to be someone who has essentially declared that voting rights don't matter. All that matters is what Republicans want and what they desire and what they will vote for. So you, as somebody who has made it your mission, your life's work, to try to achieve, access to the ballot, where are we now?
Well, Kyrsten Sinema didn't just disrespect Joe Biden, she disrespected American democracy. And it's incredibly ironic that she called John Lewis her hero, but she's going to allow Republicans to filibuster the John Lewis Voting Rights Act on Martin Luther King Day. And really, she is allowing Republicans, her and Joe Manchin, are allowing Republicans to set the terms of the entire fight. Because what's happening is Republicans in the states are passing all of these voter suppression laws on simple...
Hold on, I just gotta say something. How you gonna have an idol, John Lewis, I think they said, and it's his bill that needs to be passed, and you're not supporting it? What's going on in these people's heads? People are struggling right now. People want to get into that voting booth to vote, and it's more than just the voting. This is a channel about poverty, the fight against poverty, and what people need to do is vote for these senators, for the president, so they can be able to properly pick somebody to represent them. And she's doing a terrible job at representing the people, and we're going to see that later in this video. Let's continue.
Majority party line votes. But Sinema is saying we can't protect voting rights in the U.S. Senate on a party line simple majority vote. And so what she's essentially saying is it's too partisan and divisive to stop laws whose entire purpose are to be partisan and divisive. So basically, Republicans are plotting the next coup. They're doing everything they can to take over election operations in every key swing state. And Sinema and Manchin are basically saying, we're not going to do anything to stop it. Imagine the message that sends to the Republican Party and the message that it sends to voters all across the country who need badly federal protection for voting rights right now.
And again, like, the message it sends to us, like, do we even want to vote? Do we even want to participate? Do we even want to participate in the nonsense? It's just nonsense. And she's sitting up there crowd talking, and she's like, it's backwards. It's backwards to me. It's really backwards to me. It's backwards. I'm trying to understand it more and more. I'm trying to understand their side, and I just can't understand. I listened to Joe Manchin. He talked about Social Security facing insolvency, and it's not our fault the government borrowed money from Social Security to jeopardize it. It's not our fault. So we have to deal with our problems correctly and talk correctly. Talk about that before you talk about a risk of finances for the country. And it was the government who borrowed that money. It wasn't to bail the people out. It wasn't. So let's watch the next video.
We're having a lot of serious, long, and intense meetings with Senators Manchin and Sinema. We are trying to come to a place. We're not there yet. I wouldn't want to delude anybody to thinking this is easy. But we're trying to come to a place where 50 senators can support two bills, the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Act, and with a change in the rules. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer could begin the voting rights debate on the Senate floor as early as tomorrow. It looks like that will happen because he will take up the message that the House will send to the Senate tomorrow. It's called a message in this situation. Senator Schumer plans to employ a rarely used Senate maneuver that will allow debate to begin on that message from the House without having to clear a 60-vote threshold just to permit the debate. It is the same procedure that Senator Schumer used to speed a debt ceiling increase through the Senate in December.
So he just used this process called the message in this situation. He just did it the last December because they weren't going to raise the debt ceiling. He just used it. He just used it because he knew they weren't gonna. He knew they weren't for raising the debt ceiling. They even said it numerous of times that they weren't gonna vote for it at all. They weren't. It's not even in their minds to even raise it. They're. Let me calm down. They're not even considering raising the debt ceiling. And I get that they're thinking about our future finances for the country, but we need relief now. We are in a pandemic. We are in a pandemic. People need the reliefs. People need extra funds for these programs, welfare programs, different programs, the child tax credit. All these programs we need funding for.
Now that Senator Schumer has publicly named the problem that the Democrats are facing in the Senate, when he has repeatedly named Senators Manchin and Sinema as the two who must be convinced to change the Senate rule, Senator Manchin and Sinema do seem to be responding to that public pressure. Last night, Senator Sinema met for 2.5 hours with a group of Democratic senators who urged her to support a change in the Senate rules that will allow the voting rights legislation to be passed with a simple majority vote of the Senate instead of having to clear a 60-vote procedural threshold. And this morning, Senator Schumer and 9 Democratic senators met with Senator Joe Manchin for an hour to urge him.
And sorry, guys, the 60-vote threshold is the filibuster. And it's not going to, most laws die in the Senate. That's why.
Support that rules change. After that meeting, Joe Manchin appeared to be undecided about supporting a rules change. What do you make of the president's speech last night? Good speech. Good speech. Did you change your opinion at all on any of these, on the Senate rules changes? Okay. Everyone's talking. He said when it comes to a majority rule in the country, a majority should rule in the Senate. Do you agree with that?
Thank you.
You understand. You don't understand how that works. I know what you're thinking, but that is not the same old from Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin knows that the President of the United States and Chuck Schumer and everyone in the Senate are now hanging on every single word he says and every word that he does not say. And the most important word Joe Manchin did not say today is no. When Garrett Haake asked him if Joe Biden's speech changed his opinion on a Senate rules change, Joe Manchin could have easily said no. Didn't change my mind. And that would have been very bad news for the president and the Democrats. But Joe Manchin could have also said yes, changed my opinion, and I now support a rules change, and that would have been great news for the president and the Democrats. But when you're watching senators in these situations, you watch what words they choose to say. And what Joe Manchin chose to say was nothing. Nothing. And the way he said it was to simply say, we're still talking, everyone's talking. And the way everyone in the Senate reads that kind of response means that it is still possible, just possible, to get Joe Manchin's vote. NBC News is reporting.
Yeah. He's just saying it's possible. Joe Manchin, one of the senators holding up the bill. It's sad. It's just sad to see this within our country, supposed democracy. Yeah, and I just don't get it. We're gonna watch this last video, and this is a one with a resident of Arizona, and she's basically crying, asking for a senator to support the people, and she's not doing that.
And turning back now to the issue of Capitol Hill and specifically politics, let's talk about Senator Sinema in Arizona. The president held yet another meeting with the senator last night to try and convince her to get on board with a huge Democratic bill to reshape the social safety net and fight climate change. The progressive turned moderate has upset many Democrats because
her positions are forcing them to make concessions on tax policy, prescription drug costs, and other key aspects of that bill. While she has talked repeatedly with the president and her Democratic colleagues, she has rarely shared her views in public, both in Washington and in her home state. ABC News correspondent Cal Perry is with me now from Scottsdale, Arizona, just outside Phoenix. Cal, it's good to see you. You've been talking with some of the senator's constituents. What are they telling you about how she's handling herself throughout this process?
I think the point that you made about the way that she's going about this, we just saw Senator Manchin talking to the media there. That is not something that Senator Sinema is doing. She's not giving interviews, and she's also not holding town halls or talking to constituents. Constituents have told me that they're not able to get a meeting with her. They're very upset about that, and you're hearing that really across the political spectrum here in Arizona. It was also interesting to listen to Senator Manchin talk about some of those climate initiatives. We've readied up some sound for you, Jose, about this issue in Arizona. And before I play for you what is some emotional sound, I just want to give the viewers some quick stats. Phoenix, city I'm in, currently saw in the year 2020 50 days of temperatures over 110 degrees, 145 days of temperatures over 100 degrees. It is adversely affecting communities of color, which is not surprising. We see that across the country. So take a listen to what Columbia Sens has to say. Now, she works for Mom's Clean Air Force. Take a listen.
Some families are struggling affording their bills and electricity, but at the same time, they're going through a rough period of time when they don't have AC, with high polluted days and high extreme days. So that's why we need her support. So my message to our senator will be to support us and vote on the Build Back Better side, because it will help our low-income communities and communities of color.
And so you have critical issues coming at a critical time for Arizona, and a frustration building, I think, because our strategy, again, as you laid out, is to do things behind doors. Okay?
Hey, Cal, you were in West Virginia last week. We spoke to you when you were there to talk to Senator Joe Manchin's constituents. What are the differences, the main differences you're finding between what you're hearing in both states?
I think in West Virginia we heard that people know who Joe Manchin is. They know what he stood for, and they told us he stood for the same thing for decades. Senator Sinema, however, started as a member of the Green Party. She started as an unabashed liberal at a time when nobody was protesting the Iraq War. She was organizing dozens of protests here in Arizona, and since then, she's shifted to the right. Now, Arizona has shifted to the right as well, but a lot of people we're talking to here in Arizona say, I don't really know what she stands for anymore because she's changed so much over the years. That is clearly in contrast to what we see from Senator Manchin, somebody who prides himself on consistency and prides himself on being consistent in public as well, Jose.
So there we have it. She's not being consistent. She said her idol was John Lewis, and the voting rights bill is she's not voting for it, and her idol made that bill, constructed that bill, and it's just crazy to see that the change in people, and it's the division in our country is real. It's real. Even in Congress, it's real. But I got one more slide, and we're gonna view another example of filibuster and how the Senate holds up votes. Here's another example of the filibuster and how they used it to block $2,000 checks. And I'm gonna read it. McConnell blocks vote on 2,000 checks despite GOP pressure. Senator Mitch McConnell instead provided vague assurances that the Senate will begin the process of discussing the checks and two other issues that the president demanded lawmakers address. And this was Donald Trump at the time, I believe, right before he left. He was demanding $2,000 checks. And Senator Mitch McConnell, who's a Republican, blocked it, even despite his president is of the same party, represents the same party. He blocked it. He blocked it. And this was support to people, the public. This is for the people, stimulus checks for the people. And he blocked it. This article is from December 29th, 2020. He blocked it. And this is just another example. I'm trying to show you guys how they do these laws or how they do certain bills. They block them. They become filibuster in the Senate. That's where the term comes, die in the Senate. That's where it comes from. Most bills die in the Senate. And this is why this is why I did this video, to show you guys that there's not going to be any change toward fighting poverty if they keep blocking these laws to help alleviate poverty. There's not going to be any change unless they start passing these laws and start really realizing the problem we have with poverty. And it's been a problem. It's been a problem since Martin Luther King. That's a long time ago. 1968, he introduced the guaranteed income, and even President Nixon introduced the negative income tax. That didn't die in the Senate. It actually got passed, but the commerce people, they dropped it. So all this support to the people, and the Senate had its hands in that too, and it dropped. The support to American people, it dropped. The negative income tax would have gave people income up to a certain point where they made enough income, and then the checks would be cut. The monthly checks would be cut when they met that certain income to live at. So the Senate is killing these bills. We have the division within the House, the Democrats. And I'm gonna leave all my resources down below in the description. And yeah, man, this is a frustrating topic. You know, the fight continues. We have to get in these ballots and vote and do what we need to do so we can pick proper people to represent us. As you've seen, the lady from Arizona, she felt like they was badly being represented, and she was demanding that she vote on it. She vote on the Build Back Better bill. But that's the video, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Peace.